to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could have a moment of silence for Sharon Potter. She was our EMA director for many years. She was our assistant EMA director. She was the commander of the ambulance corps. She did a lot for this town. If you needed something, Sharon was there. So if we could have a moment of silence for Sharon. Thank you. Thank you. Public comment. There is no sign-up sheet. Is there anybody who'd like to make a public comment this time? No, thank you. Consent agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to old business, appointment of the Historic Building Committee. We were still waiting for someone from the Planning Board and the Zoning Board. You have in your packet Helen Hardy from the Planning Board and Mary Laniers from the Zoning Board. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Helen Hardy and Manny Laniers to the Historic Oversight Committee.
There's more people than that, right?
That we did all the other appointments
Oh,
already.
all right.
We were just waiting for those last two.
Second.
We had already done those. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes,
Was the planning board noticed on it?
you were sent an email, and I emailed you, Mr. Savazio.
Never got it.
Well, you responded to it, Mr. Savazio.
Did you get it?
No, I did not send it to the members. I sent it to you, asking you to bring it forward. I sent it to all the chairs, and you responded to my,
Okay.
thank you. Any further discussion?
Well, I got it.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to the Human Services Grant Approval. We've been going back and forth on this. There is a grant that's available that Carol had applied for. And then there was some discussion as to how the town can state that we're supporting this grant.
Yeah, basically what they need is, they need the town's approval that Denise, as president, has the authorization to sign off on the contractual agreement once the grant has been approved. So we sent them a letter saying that Denise was town council president, and as such, that she has the authority to do that, but they wanted some other documentation to support what Denise had said. So the recommendation was if we brought it before the town council, if the town council voted on it and said, yes, everybody's in agreement, Denise has that authority, then I can submit that as the author of the documentation that she can be the authorized signatory.
I make a motion to give Denise that authority to do whatever you're gonna do.
Second. Discussion.
No, I was gonna make a motion, I was gonna ask what the actual name
Oh.
of the grant was, but we're.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this a grant that we have to meet it in kind?
No.
No.
I mean, not that
Yeah.
I'm against it at all, I think it's great, thank you. I just wondered.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too when I was first approached. Any further discussion? Thank you, Carol. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution for the impoundment of uncollared dogs. We had done that in the past. We had accepted this this resolution, but there were some tweaks made, so now we have to bring it forward. The main thing is that we had said that we changed the $2 fee to a $5 fee, and then we changed it to up to $15. It was recommended to we
So
don't have to
we
go
don't
back.
have to go back.
So we don't have to go back to change it, but when the motion was made, it was to change it from a $2 to $5.
I make a motion, we accept this resolution as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I will accept the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we move number 2 under new business to the front.
Recognition of tax.
Second.
We're moving the recognition of the tax board of review forward so that people don't have to sit through everything. Some of these people have been on the tax board review for years. Mr. Savazio had suggested that we ask people that have been on the planning boards or the boards in the past to also be recognized because they have been given years of service. So some of these people are no longer on the tax board of review, but some of them are. I haven't signed it yet, I'm sorry. So Ruth Spencer. Thank you. And Ruth is newly on board, but thank you. Third year. Thank you. Sandra Sheldon, who is not able to make it tonight. I will present it to her husband, if that's all right.
Sure.
Please thank her for us. Elwood Hopkins. Elwood had been on it for many years. Thank you so much, Elwood. Appreciate all your years of service.
Elwood, how many years were you on? You can't hear.
How many years were you on the tax board?
I was on 35 years on the tax board. I went on
Another
the town
gentleman.
council 1968.
Wow.
So I said, when we came in, I said, remember, this seemed familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1968 hasn't changed much. I
Yeah.
think the color scheme's the same and everything.
Well, there you go.
Who's gonna change that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Elwood. Lynn Ryder. And
Yes?
Maggie Fennessy, I do not see her. Will you be seeing her next?
I don't think so.
So Mary Agnes Fennessy, also Maggie Fennessy.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
And I do want to say, I'm the one who gets up and presents, but it was a council decision to do that. This council agreed that we need to recognize our volunteers, so. And I should also thank Ms. Moreau for being the organizer of our tax board of review, so, thank you.
Thank you, and good work.
She's had a long day.
One of the reasons we moved it forward, thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Recreation food truck events, I don't know if you've seen in the paper and then on Facebook, there was some interest about the recreation committee, or the food truck, Situate does it. So Tammy did some research, so Tammy, do you want to?
And Eric.
Oh, and Aaron, thank you. Would you like to discuss it?
Sure. Well, we've been looking into it. I think a lot of whether they're gonna come or not is contingent on whether or not we can have alcohol. So this is something we've been going through, but we figured we'd try to get the approval and move forward without it and see how far we get, but it's just been a back and forth between them.
Without the alcohol?
Do they have beer trucks or something?
They have a beer truck, beer and wine truck that is Trinity Brew House, and I think they have a few open slots, and I think they're looking to fill those slots with people with towns who can have the beer and wine trucks there. But if they don't find a town that's willing to do that, then we're still like in the running to have these food trucks. But we don't know anything about a liquor license for an event like that.
So it's not allowed on the fairgrounds, right?
No.
What's
not allowed on the fairgrounds.
Like Green Acres? I don't think we have any prohibition over there. If they were to go to Green Acres.
We suggested that to
Sure.
the truck company too, but
I thought Green Acres we did, it was
Right. I don't think the insurance would cover it.
I was just
You
gonna
can
say,
ask-
whose insurance is covering this?
You can ask the applicant to pay for a one-day rider on a trip.
Yeah.
These places do it like that all the time.
We've had it done here.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're not expensive. If they're not expensive.
They're not expensive. Okay.
The trucks like Trinity's and the servers that are on these trucks are all tip certified bartenders. It's treated the same as any bar that you can walk into in the state. The certifications are the same. One thing with Providence Food Trucks is they've pretty much assured us that unless they can't find somebody who will let them do alcohol, they are forcing alcohol on the whole process. I believe Trinity Brew House in the background is a major player in the conglomerate of food trucks that's behind this whole thing, so.
This idea is for. I think the question is who would be issued that one-day liquor license to? Is there a singular company that it get issued to, or would each tribe have their own license?
I can
That might
find-
pause.
I can find out, but I believe it falls under Providence Food Trucks,
Okay.
PDD Food Trucks as they're called. I believe they all kind of work as one unit. so-
Under one, that would be, I think, probably easier for them at least.
Okay.
And I asked if they'd be opposed to paying for a one-day rider
Okay.
for,
and then there's another fee that they would have to pay as well, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I wonder, Tammy, if it is allowed at Green Acres, if we could do it there, maybe you could do it in conjunction with one of the concert series there?
I did reach out to Lori about that, Lori
Okay.
Murphy.
Yeah.
She did initially say that she'd like to stick to the dates that they already have set
Mhm.
for their concerts, but that, you know, if it were there, she'd be willing to try to work something out. Or at least get a band that would want to play there at the time of the event.
Pam, you wanted to say something?
I defer, it's just that I know that we've had family events at, family weddings at the fairgrounds, and we're not allowed to have alcohol there, so.
Thank you.
in Situate, they did have alcohol.
Yes.
And they said, you can't read it when you look at this, the second page, but they decided against it and to make it more of a family event and not have liquor. So they did, but they cut it out.
I will say I've been to several of the ones in Situate, and I did not see an issue. I know that they've had police there, but I'm not sure if there was. Do you know if there was a problem?
There was not.
There was not.
No, we talked to the recreation director, and he was saying that I think somebody on the town council is an ex-police officer and just decided that it was safer to do it without it.
Town Council
But-
President Jim Brady,
Town-
police officer.
But there were no issues, and PBD actually reports no issues.
They
That was
actually,
fine, right?
they boast the fact that they've never had any type of issues during or after like an event. It's one of their sticking points that they approach you with.
So you're asking for approval for these two dates, July 17th and August 14th, at the Foster Fairgrounds without a liquor license? Is that what you're asking, or are you asking to look at?
I believe what we as a committee decided was we'd like to ask for approval for it without alcohol and ask for the consideration of alcohol sales. We know that it's a bit of a 50-50 type of, I think everybody that we talked to has said, I can see it with, I can see it without, I don't know if it's necessary. And that's kind of where we've been stuck, is everybody kind of can see the event happening both ways, but it looks like we might not get it if we don't have the approval for alcohol. So we wanted to get approval for those dates without alcohol, give it back to them, ask for the consideration of alcohol, and if it's a no, we'll still take those dates and go back to Providence Food Trucks and let them know that we've got the approval for it.
Okay, so could I have a motion for the dates without alcohol at the Foster Fairgrounds? And then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Won't, if Situate is doing it without it now, won't that help you maybe a little bit?
I used that as leverage in our communications, and they said that to get it through this year, because those dates were already specified with them, with alcohol, when Situate decided that they weren't going to use alcohol, or they weren't going to allow alcohol, it changed the PVD's food truck's mind, and next year there will be a discussion, and if alcohol is not allowed, they probably will not return this.
Because Situate, I think, has 5 events.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I just got,
Yeah,
because I've been several times, they.
yeah.
Yes.
Council, I just want to, I want to make a comment to the gentleman's discussion,
Yep.
because I think it has to do with it over there. By the way, my name's Mark Cohen, I'm the zoning official in Situate, along with Forster. In the year past, the Food Truck Association that comes to the town of Situate, they have paid for patrol
Yeah.
to be at that event, and it was stated at a couple of meetings that if there was any issues, they would not have it anymore. In my recollection, there were no issues. What the council decides to do now, we don't have control over that, but I just want to let you know that they have paid, they are more than happy to pay the patrol to be there, to monitor the beer truck, and they pay for all that. It doesn't have any cost to the town, and there's no issues with that. It doesn't cost any money. So I just wanted to reiterate that on his comment.
And that discussion has happened, and the way that they work is they pretty much ask the town, what do you want us to pay for? What do you guys want to pay for? And where can we meet in the middle? And they're willing to pay for things that we ask them to do, as long as we're willing to pay for some of it as well, so.
Any discussion from the council? So we've made a motion that we would approve the food truck event for July 17th and August 14th without alcohol.
Was that August 4th or 14th?
It says 14th.
Sorry.
Without alcohol. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does that, then if you have an issue, I guess you could come back and we can discuss whether or not we want to issue.
Alcohol, in my opinion, should be out at the town grounds.
Out of the
Because
town grounds.
We've refused other people already.
We've done somebody else, so I can't remember who, but they had to get a special insurance rider.
We do have riders that you can go online and get that, we've discussed it before when they rent property, but they would, I would never recommend that we pay for that. They would-
Right, no,
they should
that
pay
would
for
not be us. So if you're going to discuss with them, they would have to pay for that insurance rider.
Is that the point, if they were able to obtain an insurance rider, could we come back to council and
We can come
ask
back
to
and
approve?
discuss.
Okay.
And now Green Acres is different than their?
I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I would not think so.
Any different.
I
It's
think
down-
so either.
The other piece of
Town property,
town
town property, right?
I know, is there anything, I didn't know, I know we were prohibited at the fairgrounds, I just didn't know at Green Acres.
Anybody, yeah.
So it would have to, yeah. so
Because the
it would-
town would be liable if there was something.
Right.
So I would think that if it doesn't, then we would have to come back. Yes, Beth?
Who's actually sponsoring this event?
Who's,
Sponsored by Foster Recreation.
I don't think it would be appropriate for the recreation department to sponsor something with alcohol.
Well, we've been going back and forth too. I mean,
Yeah.
we think it's a family event.
You're right.
And I think it'll go either way, you know what I mean? Like, I think people enjoy it without alcohol.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alcohol is something we wouldn't need.
right. Okay, thank you. Good luck. Keep us posted. The next is the library request for a Champlain grant. And I did see Catherine come in, yes? Hi. Hi, Catherine. She just asked that we submit a letter saying that we're in support. The grant is to paint and do things to the exterior.
Well, particularly the tower, the little bell tower,
looks, two contractors looked at it and said it does look it's long overdue for repair. And it is probably an expensive repair beyond our budget, so that's why we're going for the grant. And there's paint peeling and rot on the outside.
Lead
It's
paint.
exterior. Yeah, it was tested for lead, it's true. So you get a lead certified person.
And
The guy that does it needs a special license to handle it.
So I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion that we submit this letter to the Champlain Grant Fund for, in support of the Foster Public Library.
Second.
Discussion. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on, resolution for animal control ordinance. This is a second one because we had to submit two separate ones. The first one was for the impoundment fees. The second one is for the penalties that will be incurred if your dog is picked up. So we did change those from the last ordinance. So I'll accept the motion.
Does anybody need it read, or does everybody know what changed in it? I'll make a motion, then you want to discuss it?
Yep, that'd be great.
I will make a motion that we approve this resolution regarding enforcement penalties.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion. I can't get mine up. So if somebody wants to read it?
Basically, all right, I'll read the short part of it. The Foster Town Council may prescribe pecuniary penalties as follows. A fine not exceeding $20 for the first offense within a calendar year. B, a fine not exceeding $30 for the second offense within a calendar year. And C, a fine not exceeding $50 for the third and each subsequent offense within a calendar year. That was changed from, what were they
I think it was like 10, 15, and 20. It was extremely low.
Right, so they're just a little bit.
Yeah. So we, the committee had thought that would be something higher, might help people make up their mind not to let their dog loose. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You have before you the planning board's request for the Providence Water Supply. There is a letter from Jennifer Cicilline, the town planner, and then a second letter from Mr. Savazio. Could I have a motion, please? It's a motion to send the letter requesting the Providence Water Supply Board to supply 0% 3-year loans to Foster residents to upgrade their septic systems.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. The letter from Jennifer Cicilline, the town planner, states, please see attached letter asking the Providence Water Supply Board to supply 0% 3-year loans for Foster residents to upgrade their septic systems. The planning board voted to submit this letter to the Foster Town Council at their March 13, 2019 meeting. The planning board suggests that the town council submit a similar letter to the Providence Water Supply Board. And the letter is included. Mr. Savazio, did you send this letter?
No, we're asking you.
Okay,
All right,
I read it wrong then.
No, that's, who knows how we did it, but this is Mike Carpenter's initiative.
Yes.
And I have the board members doing individual initiatives, so we have, I believe, you've all been on the council before, and I believe none of you have ever heard of an unsolicited advisory from the planning board. And we've sent you 3, and within the next 2 or 3 months, you're going to get 2 that you've asked for and 2 more unsolicited. So the planning board is moving ahead with individual initiatives and trying to give you information you need to run the town. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman's name, would you say it's pronounced?
Oh,
Zay?
no.
He's the chairman of the Providence Water Authority, and I believe it's Zay, X-A-Y. Dear Zay, we are appealing to your demonstrated commitment to stewardship that is clearly stated in the Providence Water website. Foster holds more than 10% of your land and water resources, including the Barden, Pontiac, and Westconnot. Strictly enforced zoning effectively addresses the forest health challenge as stated in Providence Water current projects. Forest fragmentation results from land development and reduces the ecosystem natural capacity to filter and purify water. Conservation programs and partnership agreements with private landowners are designed to ensure that critical forests and wetlands remain in their natural state. Foster landowners, Foster, I was looking to see whether I mispronounced before. Foster landowners share this commitment with the added responsibility of maintaining their own water and waste treatment systems. Our first responders provide security and fire protection to our landowners, and our DPW maintains the critical access dirt roads to the most remote areas. We are zoned 95% agricultural residential, so our tax base is limited. Therefore, we are asking for the following. Number one, 3-year 0% loans for Providence Water abutters as an incentive to upgrade their waste disposal systems, similar to the 3-year 0% loans advertised on your homepage for the private portion of lead service lines. 2, preferential bid status for used Providence Water trucks and machines. Thank you for considering your request. And this was developed by the board?
By the planning board.
By the planning board. So
Now,
this letter was developed by them.
This is a letter to you that, I mean, you don't have to follow ours, you have an attorney, you may want to rewrite the whole thing. We're just informing you that such a program exists, and you may want to take it.
Okay, that's why I was asking if you sent this letter yourself.
No, this is a letter to you.
So,
I don't have a problem with it, but what is preferential bid status?
on the Providence Water trucks and machines.
Yeah. No, I know, but what is that?
That-
I thought that's what I was to bid.
I thought so too.
And
I'm not sure how that would work.
how does that work?
Joanna, how would that work? Preferential bid status?
So I'm not really familiar with that program, but I would assume that they may issue to certain municipalities before they opened it up to the public. I assume that that's what it is. Is that,
Sounds right.
yeah, I think because municipalities are more in need.
Okay, I just had a question.
I was wondering how,
I think that's how they do it.
Wouldn't it be the ones that are around the Situate Reservoir?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Situate,
I think
Situate
if you ask
Gloucester,
to get, yeah, you ask
but
to
we
get
have
on.
to ask that
Yeah.
before, they don't just say,
Right.
okay, Foster, we
Because
have.
you might not be
Okay.
interested in it.
Okay,
All right.
all right. So what's the pleasure of the council? We do have a motion. Do you like this letter? Do you want to tweak it in any way?
Joanna, does it need to be tweaked?
It sounded fine to me, but I have not actually, it's not in front of me.
Do you want a hard copy?
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. But obviously it should be from the town council, so the signatory should be,
Right.
yeah.
So this is there anyone on the council that would like to add or delete or change anything? Sounds good? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Savazio.
Mike Carpenter, please.
Yes, we will. So then there's also the planning board's letter for capital improvement plan procedure. You have that before you. It says, the Honorable Town Council President and Town Council, capital improvement plan procedure. The planning board respectfully requests that the Town council to implement the following procedures for the capital improvement plan. It is our belief that the planning board will be able to better assist the town council in implementing the proper allocation of capital monies to town departments. First bullet, by November 15, 2019, planner will ask department heads to submit the capital improvement plan project request. Return due date to planner will be December 6, 2019. This will provide 3 weeks to develop requests. Planner will immediately add the capital improvement plan request to packet for the planning board meeting on December 18, 2019. Second bullet, during the first full week in January 2020, at a special meeting, the planning board will hold a discussion with the treasurer to ascertain total capital project monies and the treasurer's thoughts. Third bullet, at the January 15, 2020 meeting, the planning board with discussion project requests, the department heads and planning board will make recommendations for the capital improvement plan that night. And the final bullet is the planner will submit a recommendation report to the town council for their next meeting. Sincerely, Ron Savazio, Worcester Planning Board Chair. Do I have a motion?
Motion that we adopt this capital improvement plan procedure.
Second.
Discussion? Kelly, what do you think?
I think it's okay, but I mean, it's,
How much different is it than how we already do it?
well, nobody submits it on time because they all require help,
Yeah.
that's
All right.
okay.
And that
So
was,
you've got dates.
So the dates are,
Deadlines.
I'm not gonna say right now that I'll try, but I don't know. You're asking me right now if I can attend a meeting that's 8 months away, I'm not gonna commit to that. But you can commit me to it all you want. But I won't commit myself to that. It's the first week of January, I have no idea what I'll be doing the first week of January, and I wouldn't want to commit somebody else to legally have to attend a meeting that far in advance.
And actually, Kelly, Jennifer, and I had discussed it prior to receiving this letter. We had sat down and talked about how to improve that whole process. And there were several suggestions. So, and one of them was to have an earlier date
Right.
as far as requesting it, which I don't see a problem with. I agree with Kelly as far as committing her to a special meeting
Right.
is, we don't know what her work week will look like or that.
Now, I don't even know if my life will, I mean, you're asking me to commit to a night meeting 8 months from now.
Right.
I have no idea where my
Mhm.
kids will go. I have no idea what's going on.
So,
That said, I'm not opposed to the actual concept of doing it earlier because really it needs to be done earlier.
mhm.
And
And I
that's
think
gonna
that was one of the
require,
things
and
we had
we
to
talked
bring to.
about it internally, we already discussed an internal plan to address this. I don't know if making it a formal, I don't know if that's necessary. But I mean, we'd already discussed it ourselves
second,
and
Mrs.
had a
Butler.
plan of our own.
Mhm, Correct, we did.
We
We
did.
did have a plan of our own, so. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Savazio.
hold on, yeah, no. All right, no, please, go ahead. Anthony.
Mr. Renzi.
Maybe we should just eliminate them coming to the planning board, because obviously, the way Kelly is saying it right there, you've already done stuff internally, and whatever recommendations that come in front of us.
That's not, that
Wait a
was,
minute, wait a minute, let me finish, please.
yes.
Their request comes to us, whatever recommendations we make doesn't matter anyway, because the town council takes it from there and does what they want to do, just like you're doing it right now. The only reason we're asking for Kelly to come in, so that we have an idea, numbers-wise, okay, where we stand, so we don't get blindsided the day before like we did last year. So I don't think it's asking too much, and it's not a commitment a year in advance. You work every day here. So as it comes into next year, into January, you know, if there's a date and you're available, you want to tell us, fine. If you don't, personally, I don't even know why they come in front of the planning board.
Okay, I just want to point out two things, clarify two things on this. The conversation that Jennifer, Kelly, and I had was not in regards to the planning board, it was in regards to the department heads and how internally we could fix that, because we agreed, they're not always on time to get it to the planning
Okay.
board. So that was what our
Okay,
discussion was
and
about.
us to furthermore, to make it better, our request is that we meet with the treasurer before they all come in or after they come in, so we have an idea.
And that's
when
historically
we
the way
see-
it's been. Historically, you've always met with the
No.
planning board? Oh, I've always seen you
I've
come
always
in.
gone to the planning board on the day that everybody tries to, and it is a lot. I'm not opposed to this in theory, it's just to commit to the dates. I agree with everything that it represents, basically. So if we could just, but I don't know why we need this document, why we can't have a conversation in December as a plan, with the planner, just like we already did, and say, okay, why don't we do this, and schedule it out, just like we do for the budget. It's not really, you're adopting a policy.
If she met with the planning board before the first meeting in January,
Who's she?
I
Kelly,
think you're
Okay.
saying
it doesn't matter whether it's
that. No, right.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right, and I
Thursday.
see, no, I'm not opposed to any of it in theory, I just think it requires a
A commitment of,
conversation
right.
during that time to plan it out. We'll plan it out just like we do most things. I don't think it requires a policy change, which that's what that is. You're adopting a policy. I don't think it requires that formal with the dates and everything, like, we're handling it because we recognize that there was a problem. There was a
Okay,
big
can I
problem.
apply now?
Now, mind you, they were all new, every
Right.
department head was new. So that was a big part of the problem. And they all relied on me to assist them, and that was a huge part of the problem, because I'm limited in time. So, that was a big part of it. We've already acknowledged this. You're adopting a policy that I just don't think it, well, I agree with what they're saying.
Mr. Sabazio.
Yeah, okay. I want to read you the planning board from the charter. There shall be a planning board, which shall act in an advisory council, capacity of town council in all matters concerning physical growth, development of town, and affecting the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people. Doesn't say anything about CPI. So, having said we don't need a policy is what has us in the space we're in. Patty Moreau is the only person that turned in her request on time. Okay? It was the only one Jennifer had on time. We hire people and somehow it's not in their job description, or maybe it is, I don't know, when they're supposed to do what. The day of the meeting, we were handed, I think now, we're going to say 2 days before we got the information. So a Wednesday meeting, it was arriving either Monday night or Tuesday morning for people on the board to look at $800,000 worth of requests and then make some kind of judgment to you. So I think
And
approved-
we agree with that,
Excuse me,
Mr.
may
Sabazio.
I- Yes.
We agree with you.
So, we were handed, and I think there are businessmen on the board, but I have some familiarity with accounting. We were handed year of end 18, the amount of money that we had to work with. But then we were told which was 900,000. But then we were told verbally we had 10%. But really, we didn't even have 10%. So, in order, this is not a criticism. So let's
Okay,
clear
but
that
I'm
up.
trying to get this.
All right, so why I'm telling you, you need a policy. So that when people don't follow the policy, somebody can look at somebody else, and obviously everybody works for you, and you can say, why did this happen? Because right now, what do you say? Oh, you send Walter Kelly to do the work. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis.
We were, as Kelly just said, we had almost all new department heads. So there was a lack of probably understanding of what was required or how it was required.
Is it in their job description?
Mr. Sabazio?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Kelly worked with them and they got it done as quickly as possible. Having done that and having said that, she also just explained that now they've discussed how to eliminate that problem before it happens. If we start having policies for everything we do, we're gonna tie our hands to everything, and I don't think we need them.
Then we can just go from the hip.
Mrs. Ryder?
I just think, a
policy can be flexible, but I do think, I know one thing that keeps happening, and, you know, I've talked to Sue Dillon, is everybody's wondering, well, how did we do it before? How did we, every time there's a turnover, be it with the planning board or the treasurer or whatever, but to have a plan and target dates, that's not, you know, I don't think that's unreasonable. Are you gonna deviate? Absolutely. But at least there is something, there's a roadmap to follow. If, Joanna, if we do adopt this policy and we deviate from the date, the first full week in January, there'll be a special meeting with the.
So,
are we gonna be?
I think, well, here's what maybe my suggestion was, because I was at the planning board meeting, obviously, when we started doing this, and we were trying to figure out, well, do we want it to be the first week of January, because that's the holiday, so I think that's why we said we'll have a special meeting, so that we can accommodate.
I was there.
Would it be okay, Kelly, to say, you will agree that you will have a meeting with the planning board prior to the department heads coming in? And then we don't put a date in, but that means that the department head meeting can't happen until your meeting has happened. And maybe it's a special meeting, and maybe it's not on a Wednesday, obviously it would need to be posted. So I think you can skew it a little bit. I wouldn't say adopt it and then start deviating, because that's gonna cause problems. But adopt it in a fashion that it leaves enough flexibility for Kelly and the department heads, but gives the planning board comfort that they're gonna talk to you first and have enough time, or at least a meeting with you first to figure out what's happening.
You could even add something simple like, that at the
That's
beginning of December, we would create a schedule so that in December, you're creating a schedule for all of this to occur, just like we do for the
But
budget.
the
And then we would
first-
sit down with either the planning board chair and the planner. And
Well,
whatever,
The
so that
first
we
bullet,
can
though, I
establish-
think is good, and that was the one that we discussed.
We discussed
Because we
exactly this
agreed
time.
with you, after being at that meeting, we agreed with you that, yes, there has to be something done about when the time frame is that the department heads get this information to Jennifer. So the first bullet, I have no objections with.
Right, because it turned out that it was me getting it to Jennifer and me preparing it with them, and that was all like literally minutes before it was
Let's
made.
make it a guideline, not a procedure.
Exactly. If you change the terminology a little bit and maybe you would develop more concrete schedule every December.
So
I
instead
have
of
no
it being a
problem.
capital improvement plan procedure, it'd be a capital improvement plan guideline.
Who seconded the motion?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It had been seconded by Joe.
I also would like to say, I applaud your efforts. I'm not against your efforts. I'm just saying to be strict by these dates is what I was concerned with. But I applaud the ideas behind it and all your efforts.
These are advisories, you get to change whatever you want, that's all this is.
That's what we were talking about,
And
right?
we want to play nicely, so if we change it from procedure to guidelines, is that fine with the?
Fine, not anything.
Joe, do you want to withdraw your,
Yep, I withdraw my second.
Okay,
and I'll withdraw my motion,
thank you.
and I'll change it to, I make a motion that we adopt the capital improvement plan guidelines as submitted.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
Move the question.
Kathy has something to say.
No, I think that we were gonna add what Joanna said.
We are saying, so a special meeting with the planning board and the treasurer.
But now it's a guideline, so.
No, it's a guideline, so it's not a big.
It's not a big deal.
It's a guideline.
It
Patty,
really
did
is,
you
it's
want
not
to
a
say
big,
something?
it's not
Well,
a
we
big
don't wanna
deal.
shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Really?
Patty, you want to say something?
What was that, James?
Very impressive.
Thank you. Patty, the other problem that you have. I'm sorry, Patty speaking, thank you.
The other problem that Kelly has with this, not with this procedure, with the whole thing is certain department heads put it off till the last minute and then go into her and stay with her for 3 and 4 hours to get it done.
We
That has to
discussed
stop too.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
Because that
that's,
takes up,
Guideline.
yeah,
she's in that office till sometimes 11 o'clock at night trying to get this done, and that's not fair to her.
right. And we discussed that too.
Maybe
That
we
was
should
fun.
put out a memorandum to all the department heads saying,
We'll do it
something.
in
get this
December.
stuff out,
Right,
you know?
when we, that's what part of the plan in December, we'll
Exactly.
start, and we'll say, okay, now this is your second
All right,
year.
let's
Right.
move the
It's
question.
all
Okay.
set. It's all set.
There's been a motion, it's been seconded, there's been discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. moving on to the resolution for 2020 census. Ms. Hoare asked for this.
I don't have anything in the packet.
Oh, it's on the, it was there.
You didn't get it?
It's not, it's there, it's there.
It's on mine.
Where? It's there. Where is
It's on the agenda.
Go to the agenda.
As I have it on the agenda, I don't have the actual resolution. I was.
Okay.
This,
So, yes, Ms. Hoare asked us to bring this forward, so Ms. Hoare.
This was given to me, it's going to be presented probably this coming week to the cities and towns. It explains how important the census is, how it could affect how many representatives or senators we have. It can affect grant monies that come in, and I just thought we could be a leader in this and we could get this going.
So it discusses how, and I'm sure people have read in the paper that the way the census is right now, and we were a pilot town, Providence County was a pilot for the 2020 census. We've seen in the paper where we may be back a representative at the federal level because of the numbers, which affects many things. For instance, I'm trying to read it sideways.
Just talk.
So it talks about monies to the school, etc. So, has everyone had a chance to read it?
Oh,
It is extremely lengthy. If you'd like, I will read it to you.
No. No, you won't.
Way too long.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have it there now, sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
actually just talked to.
So, do I have a motion? It would be a resolution for the 2020 census. Okay.
I make a motion that we adopt this resolution and send it to the appropriate cities and towns, encouraging all other cities and towns to participate in the census.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on, we have executive session, and Mr. Savazio, am I correct that you asked for this to be moved into open session?
That's correct.
So, I will present what we have. You were handed your letter, am I correct?
That's correct.
So, Mr. Savazio, the reason you were called or asked to come before the council is I received a letter from an Amita Rodman. And as a result, I needed to address that.
Okay.
Okay, so Amita Rodman, she sends me this letter saying the attached describes an incident that may be classified as sticks and stones, but words may never. Upon reflection, it seems prudent to document the matter to separate it from future interactions. Besides creating unnecessary distractions, the incident is too trivial to lodge as a complaint unless there seems to be a pattern or repeat event. Even when we may disagree, discourse can be civil and unprejudiced by negative emotion. Anyone serving by virtue of election or appointment or as an officer is held to this standard, particularly in a public forum. Such persons are also supposed to represent good governance for our town. Kindly receive this documentation submitted in confidence. Thank you. And since I received it, I'm going to read it to you.
Yeah.
Since I received it, I have spoken to Ms. Rodman, and she did, because I feel that you are an appointed official in town. You work very hard on the planning board. You work very hard to become the planning board chair. And as Ms. Rodman states, holding an office in town puts you at a higher level.
Absolutely.
You have to have a higher standard. That being said, this is the letter that I received. On Thursday, February 14, 2019, I attended, this is Ms. Rodman's letter, okay, so Ms. Rodman. I attended a town council meeting held at the Isaac Payne Elementary School in Foster, Rhode Island. I was there to follow the town council proceedings of proposed zoning and solar ordinance amendments and was prepared to speak to this agenda item. After completing my statements to the council, as this was a public hearing, I remained for a short while to hear additional commentary and to listen to the initial discussion of the next agenda item, marijuana ordinance. When I needed to leave, I took a moment to speak in the hallway with one of my local neighbors who followed me out. She returned to the town meeting, taking her seat where the town council remained in session in the back of the room. She sat next to Mr. R. Savazio, a current appointee to the planning board and presently serving as board chair. I received a call on Saturday, February 16th from this neighbor, wherein she reported the following. I sat in the back next to Mr. Savazio, who I really don't know. He was chatting, and he said to me directly, "That woman, she's so worried about flooding. F her. It's dead land. It's surprising to hear a town rep talk like that." From some points of view, this interaction just might be Mr. Savazio's personality and usual behavior. At worst, it is a form of bullying, especially when shared with someone of an opposing view. That said, discussing it further only promotes unnecessary distractions. At best, Mr. Savazio's conduct is not appropriate in an open public hearing setting, especially if the council was not in adjournment. At least 2 planning board members were present at the meeting, he included. Both spoke to the same agenda items as I, presumably not only as private citizens, but also in their capacity of service. For the foregoing reasons, the incident is being documented. Anita Rodman. That is considered hearsay because she's reporting. So her neighbor, Monique Taylor, did send a letter to collaborate it. Dear council members, I am corroborating this story. I attended the public hearing concerning the solar ordinance. There were several people there to speak about the solar ordinance. One being Anita Rodman, who spoke about her concerns regarding the solar ordinances. When Anita left, I followed her out to the hallway, and we spoke briefly. When I returned to the cafeteria, I sat in the back of the room beside Ron Savazio as the town council was still in session. We were talking about the solar project on 101, when he turned to me and said, "That woman," pointing to a meter, "she's so worried about basement flooding. F her. That land is useless, full of rocks. Sincerely, Monique Taylor."
Okay, can I say one thing? I didn't sit next to anybody. The only person that was by me was that policeman right there. And I stood up numerous times to talk to him. I sat alone with the candy dish. And in fact, Gordon came to me and gave me a piece of candy, and I think he can verify I was sitting alone. So I have no idea what this is about. But you have a letter.
We have 2 letters which we need to address.
So one woman told the other woman that I said something, and that's cooperation?
The second lady, Monique Taylor, wrote a letter supporting that, yes, this is indeed what you said to her, and she reported it to her neighbor, yes.
Right, okay. So I'm going to tell you, I don't think it happened. Well, I don't know what else you want, but if it did happen, there was one woman in the back standing with the police officer, but I sat alone. And Gordon tapped me on the shoulder and handed me a piece of candy. I was sitting alone at that bench. So I don't have any idea what this is about. And Joe, his wife, and Kathleen Swanson were sitting a row in front of me, and I was alone in that seat. So I left. So I'm sorry. As far as I didn't report this, the woman going out the door and her attorney and her neighbor said to me, "If I give $10,000 to a woman in town, will you turn this down?" And I didn't go to the police and ask them to file charges of trying to bribe an elected official. So you've got a letter.
So that's why we're addressing it
Okay,
this time.
you have a letter. I was not acting as a planning board member, and I'm sitting there. Other than that,
Well, you did represent yourself as a planning board meeting at the public hearing. You got up and spoke.
but then
And you
I
did-
went back and sat alone.
Yes, but her concern, in her letter, and when I spoke to her, was that you had introduced yourself as the planning
Okay.
board chair. So that was her concern, is that she felt, as you representing the town as an appointed position, that it's not behavior that would be acceptable.
Okay, I don't know what else I'm supposed to say about this.
Well, that's what it's in regard to. I have one other thing that I would like to also mention, is that on Facebook, you have made comments about an upcoming agenda item for the planning board. You have made comments in regards to the solar farm
Right.
on 101. To me, and that's just my own personal, you should not be discussing on Facebook a future agenda item.
I don't know what that regards to, but,
Would you like to see it? Mr.
no,
President?
it's fine, I believe it. There's some place where I get to separate myself out. In fact, I was told by the attorney, and numerous attorneys over time, not putting her on the spot, that, in fact, I'm not even, I've been told by numerous attorneys, and I'm gonna leave her out of it, that as an elected official, especially a council member, you weren't supposed to come to the planning board meeting and talk. So I think I've made a mistake in representing myself as a planning board member at a meeting. That was my mistake. I should have said as a citizen. But on Facebook, I think I'm a citizen, but if they're upset that I said something,
I think, Mr. Sabazio, I think when you're discussing, even as a citizen, you're going to be, and I know you abstain, you're going to be hearing and discussing an agenda item. You've put on Facebook, you can pretty much tell what you think about it.
right.
So you're, before
Yeah.
you've heard
All
everything,
right, let's-
you're discussing it.
Joe, I actually said to Joe, all right? Joe, there were two things that came before us, and I said, Joe, you know how I'm gonna vote, you already know how I'm gonna vote on these, so you guys should handle this. I do not discuss any items at the meetings. Hold on. Now, did you want me to stop, Cheryl?
No, I
Okay.
just want her to know.
So-
when to speak.
At the meetings, I introduced the agenda item. I have not put anything of my particular interest on the agenda. And I do not address any of the items until it comes to me being the deciding vote, which would have to make it 3-3. All right?
I
So-
would just advise that you no longer discuss
That,
future
and
agenda
I
items on
believe me,
Facebook.
I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, and I'll take that one. So you won't see me on
You wanna
Facebook
say
again.
something?
I just believe, Ron, that when we're appointed or we're elected, then we have a standard we should try to follow. I read everything on Facebook. I've seen your comments before. I've seen other comments. There are many times I would love dearly to speak to those comments, but no matter what I say, it's gonna come back and bite me. And the same is said for you on here. Whatever you say, you discuss, and most of them come up at some point or another in front of you for discussion. I think it just behooves you.
Absolutely. I'm old, but I can learn new tricks.
Mrs. Ryder.
I think this Facebook thing is a slippery slope. Because, I mean, you know, just go back and look at Facebook. Is there, you know, someone who's part of the town government who hasn't, you know, I mean, there are many people who have abused their position on Facebook. So I think that everybody should look in the mirror.
I agree.
And, because it is not isolated with, you know.
No, it isn't.
Mr.
That's why I made that statement.
And, you know, as far as the complaint, I understand that it's, you know, it is serious. However, I think we could probably get, you know, everyone in here to sign a paper saying it is his personality. You know,
Mrs.
not a
Ryder,
problem.
but Mrs. Ryder, that is not an excuse in this day
No,
and
I
age.
understand,
In
but,
this day and age, I expect, and I think the council expects more from the people that we've appointed.
I expect it of myself.
Yes.
I try to hold myself to that standard. I really try very hard. And I would like the people that get appointed, especially from us, to hold themselves to that same standard. We're all here for the same reason. Not to backbite, not to attack it from a different view, not to attack it from a different venue. We're here to try to make this town a better place to live in. I think you have that, stated that many times, Mr. Savazio. So we're just asking you to hold yourself to a higher standard.
I think, I absolutely agree, and from what I've seen in a lot of things, I'm holding pretty high standard. But I will continue to improve, to work hard, and you will continue to get quality work from the planning board. There you
No
go.
one disagrees. Thank you.
That's great.
I would entertain a motion to present, follow up this conversation with a letter to Mr. Savazio regarding this.
I make a motion that we send a follow-up letter to Mr. Savazio regarding this situation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Moving on, we will go into executive session. Do we have any future agenda items?
We have to, he's on the side.
That was a video.
We already have.
Is that the emergency?
Yes.
So we can
Okay.
go into executive session and see him after, right?
Yes.
Because you have to open back up and that's what I told him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.